The sun was going down as Jason Statham drove his black car up the long driveway to his home. He had been filming all day and was tired. His muscles ached from doing his own stunts. All he wanted now was to relax with Duke, his loyal German Shepherd dog. "Duke, I'm home, boy," Jason called out as he walked through the front door. Usually, Duke would come running, tail wagging, happy to see his owner. But today, there was no excited bark, no sound of paws rushing across the floor. Jason felt something was wrong. He put down his keys and walked through the house, calling Duke's name again and again. When he reached the back door that led to the garden, he heard a soft whimper. "Duke." Jason pushed open the door and his heart sank. There was Duke, lying on his side under the big oak tree. The dog was trying to stand but kept falling back down. Jason ran to him, dropping to his knees on the grass. "What happened to you, boy?" Jason asked softly, gently touching Duke's head. That's when he saw the blood on Duke's back leg. Someone had hurt his dog, his best friend. Duke looked up at Jason with sad eyes full of pain and trust. As Jason carefully checked Duke's injuries, he noticed a small piece of paper tied to Duke's collar. He removed it and read the message written in rough handwriting. "Next time, watch where you park." Jason knew exactly who did this. The Devil's Wheels motorcycle gang had been causing trouble in the area for months. Last week, they asked to use Jason's land for a big meeting. Jason had said no. They had threatened him, but he never thought they would hurt an innocent animal. "It's going to be okay, Duke, I promise," Jason said, his voice steady, but his eyes burning with anger. He gently picked up his dog, being careful not to cause more pain. Duke was heavy, but Jason was strong. He carried him to his car and placed him on a blanket in the back seat. The drive to the animal hospital was quick. Jason kept talking to Duke, making sure the dog stayed awake. At every red light, he looked back to check on him. Duke's eyes were open, watching Jason, trusting him to make things right. At the hospital, the vet took Duke in right away. As Jason waited in the empty waiting room, his phone made a sound. A text message from an unknown number. "Hope your mutt learned his lesson." Jason deleted the message without replying. His face showed no emotion, but inside, a fire was starting to burn. These bikers had made a big mistake. They thought hurting his dog would scare him. They didn't know Jason Statham at all. After an hour, the vet came out with news. "Duke will be okay. He has a deep cut on his leg and some bruises, but nothing is broken. We need to do surgery to clean the wound. He should stay here for a few days." Jason thanked the vet and paid for everything in advance. "Take good care of him," he said. Then he walked out to the parking lot. It was dark now. The only light came from a few lamps in the lot. That's when Jason noticed 3 motorcycles parked near his car. Each one had the Devil's Wheels symbol painted on it. This was not by chance. They were watching him, sending a message. Jason got into his car without looking at the bikes. He drove home with one thought in his mind. The Devil's Wheels had hurt his dog. They thought they were teaching him a lesson, but they had no idea what was coming next. Jason Statham was not a man who forgot, and he was not a man who forgave those who hurt the ones he loved. Jason did not go to sleep that night. He sat in his living room with all the lights off. The house felt empty without Duke. On the coffee table in front of him was his phone. Jason picked it up and called an old friend. "Frank, it's Jason. I need your help," he said when the man answered. Frank was someone Jason had known for many years. He knew people who knew people. He could find out things that most people could not. "What do you need?" Frank asked. "Everything you can find on a motorcycle gang called the Devil's Wheels," Jason said. His voice was calm, but there was steel behind it. Frank did not ask why. He just said he would call back when he had something. While he waited, Jason went to his computer. He looked up the Devil's Wheels online. There were newspaper stories about them causing trouble in bars, fighting with other gangs, and selling drugs. But what caught Jason's eye was a small story about the gang leader, a man named Razor, who had been arrested twice for hurting animals. The charges had been dropped both times. Jason's phone rang 3 hours later. It was Frank. "I'm sending you a file," Frank said. "It has everything. Where they meet, where they live, who they know. Their leader is bad news, Jason. Be careful." "Thanks, Frank," Jason said. "I owe you." Jason opened the file on his computer. There were pictures of gang members, maps showing where they went, and police reports that had never been made public. The leader, Razor, had a long list of crimes. He had hurt people and animals before, but somehow he always avoided going to jail. As the sun came up, Jason had a plan. He would not just get back at the men who hurt Duke. He would make sure they could never hurt another animal again. Jason showered and changed his clothes. He drove to the animal hospital to check on Duke. The dog was still sleepy from medicine, but his eyes lit up when he saw Jason. "Hey boy," Jason said softly, petting Duke's head. "You'll be home soon." The vet told Jason that Duke was doing well, but would need to stay for 2 more days. Jason thanked her and left. He had work to do. His next stop was the local animal shelter. It was a small place that was always short on money. The owner, a kind woman named Sarah, was surprised when Jason Statham walked in. "I want to make a donation," Jason said. He handed her a check with a large amount of money written on it. Sarah's eyes went wide. "This is very generous, Mr. Statham. There's one condition," Jason said. "In the next few days, I might bring in some animals that need help. Can you take them in?" Sarah looked confused but nodded. "Of course. We always have room for animals that need help." Jason thanked her and left. His next task was to find out where the Devil's Wheels were right now. He drove to a gas station on the edge of town. Frank's file said gang members often stopped there. Jason waited in his car across the street. After an hour, a motorcycle pulled up. The rider wore a leather jacket with the Devil's Wheels symbol on the back. Jason watched as the man went inside to pay for gas. Quick as a shadow, Jason moved to the motorcycle. He placed a small tracking device under the seat. It was so small no one would notice it. Now Jason could track where the gang went. Back in his car, Jason watched the man ride away. On Jason's phone screen, a small dot showed where the motorcycle was going. The first part of his plan was working. As Jason drove home, he thought about Duke. He thought about the other animals the gang might have hurt. His face was calm, but his eyes were full of fire. The Devil's Wheels had no idea what was coming for them. They had hurt the wrong man's dog, and now they would pay. For 3 days, Jason watched the tracking dot on his phone. The Devil's Wheels biker moved between a bar called Road Rash, a rundown apartment building, and an old warehouse at the edge of town. The warehouse was where the dot stayed most nights. That had to be their main meeting place. On the 3rd day, Jason went to pick up Duke from the animal hospital. The big German shepherd was still walking with a limp, but his tail wagged when he saw Jason. "Ready to go home, boy?" Jason asked, rubbing Duke's ears. The dog licked his hand in answer. The drive home was quiet. Duke sat in the back seat, watching the world go by. Jason kept looking at him in the mirror. The dog seemed sad, not like his usual happy self. The bikers had done more than hurt Duke's body. They had made him afraid. At home, Jason made Duke comfortable on his big dog bed. He gave him the special food the vet had recommended and fresh water. Duke ate a little, then put his head down to rest. "You sleep, buddy," Jason said. "I'll be back later." Jason went to his garage. He opened a locked cabinet that held things from his movie stunts. Inside were ropes, gloves, dark clothes, and other tools that could be useful for what he planned to do tonight. When night fell, Jason dressed in all black. He put what he needed into a small backpack. The tracking dot showed most of the bikers were at the warehouse. This was the night he would find out what they were up to. Jason drove to a spot a few blocks from the warehouse. He parked and continued on foot, staying in the shadows. The warehouse was in an old part of town where most buildings were empty. No one was around to see him. The warehouse was a large gray building with few windows. Most were broken or covered with dirt. There were motorcycles parked outside, all with the devil's wheel symbol. Jason counted 15 bikes. The whole gang was here tonight. He moved quietly around the building, looking for a way in that would not be noticed. At the back, he found a small door that was used for emergencies. The lock was old and easy to open with the tools he had brought. Jason slipped inside. He was in a dark hallway. From somewhere in the building, he could hear loud music and men laughing. He moved toward the sound, careful not to make noise. The hallway led to a large open area. Jason stayed hidden behind some old boxes. From there, he could see about 20 men drinking and talking. They wore leather jackets with the devil's wheel symbol. In the middle of them was a tall man with a long beard. He had a large knife on his belt. This had to be Razor, the leader. "Tonight's fight starts in an hour," Razor shouted over the music. "Double your money if you bet on the winning dog." Jason felt his blood go cold. Dog fights. These men were running illegal dog fights. That's why Razor had a record of hurting animals. Razor pointed to a door at the far end of the room. "New dogs are downstairs. Anyone wants to see them before betting, go now." Some of the men moved toward the door. Jason waited for them to pass, then followed at a distance. The door led to a staircase going down. As they descended, Jason could hear barking and growling. The basement of the warehouse was set up like a small arena. In the middle was a pit with walls about 4 feet high. Around it were rows of chairs. This is where they held the fights. But what made Jason's heart beat faster were the cages along one wall. In them were dogs of all sizes and breeds. Some looked scared, others angry. All showed signs of being mistreated. They were thin, dirty, and many had old wounds that had not been treated. This was worse than Jason had thought. The devil's wheels hadn't just hurt his dog. They were hurting many dogs, forcing them to fight each other. Jason's plan changed in that moment. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about saving these animals. Jason left the warehouse without being seen. His heart was heavy with what he had discovered. He could not fight 20 bikers on his own. And even if he could, what would happen to the dogs? They needed homes and care. As he drove home, Jason called his friend at the police department. Officer Mike Brown had worked with Jason before when he needed help with security for movie events. "Mike, it's Jason Statham. I need to talk to you about something important." They agreed to meet at a small coffee shop the next morning. Jason did not sleep much that night. He kept thinking about the dogs in those cages. He checked on Duke several times. The big dog was sleeping, but he whined in his dreams. At the coffee shop, Jason told Mike everything. About Duke being hurt, about following the devil's wheels, and about finding the dog fighting ring. "You need to raid that place," Jason said. "Get those dogs out of there and arrest those men." Mike looked troubled. "It's not that easy, Jason. We've tried to catch the devil's wheels before, but someone always tips them off. They move everything before we get there." "Someone in the police?" Jason asked. Mike nodded. "We think so. Someone high up who gets paid to protect them." "So the system won't help these dogs," Jason said. His voice was quiet, but his eyes were determined. "I wish I could do more," Mike said. He looked truly sorry. Jason thanked him and left. If the police could not help, he would have to find another way. He needed a new plan. Back at home, Jason sat with Duke. The dog was feeling better and had eaten a good breakfast. Jason scratched behind Duke's ears, thinking hard. "I'm going to get those dogs out, buddy," he told Duke. "But I need to be smart about it." He spent the day planning. First, he called Sarah at the animal shelter. "I may be bringing in those animals soon," he told her. "Maybe as many as 15 dogs. Can you handle that?" "With the money you gave us, we can," she said. "But that's a lot of dogs at once. "Where are they coming from?" "I'll explain later," Jason said. "Just be ready." Next, Jason rented a large van under a different name. Then he bought collars, leashes, dog food, and water bowls. He would need all of this soon. Over the next few days, Jason watched the warehouse using the tracking device. He learned the bikers' routine. Every week, they had a big dog fight night on Saturday. That was when all the members were there. But on Tuesday nights, most of them went to a bike rally in the next town. Only a few stayed behind to guard the dogs. Tuesday would be the night to act. Jason had 4 days to get ready. During those days, he visited the warehouse area twice more, always careful not to be seen. He found all the doors and windows. He saw which bikers stayed behind on Tuesday and where they liked to sit. On Monday night, Jason checked all his supplies. The van was parked a few blocks from his house. It had a fake company name painted on the side, Valley Pet Transport. No one would question a van like that carrying dogs. He laid out his black clothes and a small bag with tools. He had a plan to deal with the guards without seriously hurting them. Jason knew how to make someone sleep without causing harm. He had learned it for a movie role, but it worked in real life too. That night, he sat with Duke for a long time. "Tomorrow, we're going to help dogs like you," he told his friend. "Dogs that have no one else to help them." Duke seemed to understand. He rested his head on Jason's knee and looked up at him with trusting eyes. As Jason went to bed, he was not thinking about revenge anymore. He was thinking about justice. The devil's wheels had hurt his dog, but they had hurt many other dogs too. Tomorrow, that would end. Jason fell asleep planning each step of what would be the most important rescue mission of his life. Tuesday night came. Jason checked the tracking app one last time. Most of the Devil's Wheels bikers were at their rally in the next town. Only 3 dots showed at the warehouse. This was the right time to act. He drove the rented van to a spot 2 blocks from the warehouse. The night was dark with no moon. Perfect for what he needed to do. Jason wore all black clothes and carried his small bag of tools. He had practiced his moves all day, going over each step in his mind. As he walked to the warehouse, Jason felt calm. This was like preparing for a movie stunt, but with much more at stake. Real dogs needed him tonight. He went to the same back door he had used before. The lock opened easily. Inside, the warehouse was quiet. No loud music tonight, just the sound of a TV from the main room and some dogs barking below. Jason moved like a shadow through the hallway. He stopped at the corner and looked into the main room. 2 men sat on old chairs watching TV. Beer cans were on the floor next to them. The third man was not there. He might be downstairs with the dogs. Jason took a small device from his bag. It would make a loud noise when he pressed the button. He threw it across the room, far from where he stood. It landed with a soft tap that the men did not hear. Then Jason pressed the button on a small remote. A loud crash came from where he had thrown the device. The 2 men jumped up. "What was that?" one asked. "Go check it out," the other said. The first man walked toward the noise, away from Jason. This was his chance. Jason moved quickly behind the second man. With one smooth move, he put his arm around the man's neck in a special hold. The biker struggled for a few seconds, then went limp. He was not hurt, just sleeping. Jason laid him gently on the floor. The first biker was still looking for what made the noise. Jason moved behind him and used the same hold. Soon, this man was also sleeping on the floor. Jason tied both men's hands with zip ties. They would wake up later with headaches, but no real harm. Now for the third man. Jason moved quietly to the stairs leading to the basement. He could hear someone talking to the dogs. "Shut up down there," a rough voice said. "No food until tomorrow." Jason went down the stairs one at a time, careful not to make noise. At the bottom, he saw the third biker. This one was bigger than the others. He was poking a stick at one of the caged dogs, laughing when it growled. Anger filled Jason, but he stayed focused. He waited until the man turned his back, then moved quickly. This biker was stronger and fought harder when Jason grabbed him. They struggled, knocking over a chair. But Jason was trained for movie fights that looked real because they almost were. He knew how to handle himself. After a short fight, the third biker joined his friends in sleep. Jason tied his hands too. Now came the hard part. Jason looked at all the dogs in their cages. There were 17 of them. Some barked at him. Others cowered in fear. All needed help. "It's okay," Jason said in a soft voice. "I'm getting you out of here." He went to each cage and opened it carefully. Some dogs were easy to handle. They seemed to know he was helping them. Others were scared or angry. One tried to bite him. Jason used the leashes he had brought to create safe ways to lead each dog. It took over an hour to get all 17 dogs up the stairs and outside. Jason had to make 3 trips, taking small groups each time. He was patient and gentle, talking softly to each dog. "You're safe now," he told them. "No more fighting. No more cages." When all the dogs were in the van, Jason took one last look at the warehouse. The 3 bikers were still tied up inside. They would be found eventually. But by then, the dogs would be far away and safe. Jason got into the van and started the engine. As he drove away, he felt better than he had in days. The rescue part of his plan had worked. Now he needed to get these dogs to the shelter where Sarah was waiting. The night was only half over, and there was still much to do. The drive to the animal shelter was slow. Jason did not want to scare the dogs more than they already were. Some whined in the back of the van. Others were quiet, watching Jason with careful eyes. One small brown dog sat right behind the driver's seat, as if making sure Jason was taking them somewhere good. When Jason pulled up to the shelter, it was almost midnight. Sarah was waiting as she had promised. Her eyes went wide when Jason opened the back doors of the van. "My goodness," she said. "You weren't kidding about having a lot of dogs." "They need help," Jason said simply. "They've been used for dog fighting." Sarah's face changed from surprise to anger. "Dog fighting? That's awful." Then she became focused. "Let's get them inside." Jason and Sarah worked together to bring all 17 dogs into the shelter. It was not easy. Some dogs were still scared and did not want to be touched. Others did not want to go into a building that might be another prison. But Sarah knew how to handle scared animals. She spoke softly and moved slowly. Jason followed her lead. Inside, they put each dog in a clean, large cage with water and food. These cages were much better than the ones at the warehouse. They were clean and warm, with soft beds to lie on. "They'll need to see a vet," Sarah said when all the dogs were settled. "Some have old wounds that need treatment." "I'll pay for everything," Jason said. "Whatever they need." Sarah looked at him with new respect. Where did they come from, exactly? Jason told her about the Devil's Wheels and their dog-fighting ring. He did not mention that he had tied up 3 bikers at the warehouse. Some things were better left unsaid. "The police should know about this," Sarah said. "They will," Jason promised. "But first, I wanted to make sure the dogs were safe." Sarah nodded. She understood. "Some of these dogs may never trust people again," she warned. "They've been through too much. We'll give them a chance," Jason said. "That's all any of us can ask for." It was nearly 3 in the morning when Jason finally drove home. He was tired but felt good about what he had done. Duke was waiting for him, happy to see his master even at this late hour. "Mission accomplished, buddy," Jason told him, patting his head. "Those dogs are safe now." Jason slept for a few hours, then woke to his phone ringing. It was Officer Mike. "Jason, did you have anything to do with what happened at an old warehouse last night?" Mike's voice was serious but not angry. "What happened?" Jason asked, pretending not to know. "Someone broke in and took all the dogs that the Devil's Wheels were using for fights. Left 3 gang members tied up." Mike paused. "The bikers are saying it was you." "Do they have proof?" Jason asked calmly. "No," Mike admitted. "And honestly, The department isn't trying very hard to find who did it. Most of us are glad those dogs are out of there." He paused again. "I just want to make sure you're being careful. The devil's wheels are not going to let this go." "I'll watch my back," Jason said. "Thanks for the warning." After hanging up, Jason went to check on Duke. The big dog was feeling much better today. His limp was less noticeable, and he had eaten a good breakfast. Jason spent some time playing with him in the yard, then made another call to Sarah. "How are they doing?" he asked when she answered. "Better than expected," she said. "The vet came early this morning. Most of the dogs just need good food and care. 2 needed stitches for old wounds." "That's good news," Jason said. "There's something else," Sarah said, her voice excited. "A local TV reporter heard about the rescue. She wants to do a story about the dogs. I didn't mention your name, but this could help get them adopted." "Do the story," Jason said. "These dogs deserve good homes." After he hung up, Jason smiled. Things were working out better than he had planned. The dogs were safe and might soon find families. But deep down, he knew this wasn't over. The devil's wheels would be looking for whoever took their dogs. And Razor, their leader, had a reputation for being very dangerous when angry. The news story about the rescued fighting dogs aired the next evening. The reporter stood outside the animal shelter with Sarah. Behind them, viewers could see some of the dogs in their new clean cages. These animals were saved from a life of cruelty. The reporter said, "An unknown person brought 17 dogs to this shelter 2 nights ago. All had been forced to fight for the entertainment of their owners." Sarah spoke about how the dogs were doing and how people could help. She did not mention Jason or the Devil's Wheels by name. But she did say that illegal dogfighting was happening in their town, and people should report any signs of it to the police. Jason watched the story on TV at home with Duke by his side. He was glad the focus was on the dogs, not on who rescued them. Duke seemed to watch too, his ears perking up when he saw other dogs on the screen. The next morning, the story was all over social media. People were angry about the dog fighting and happy the dogs had been saved. Many called the shelter asking how to adopt the rescued dogs or how to donate money. Sarah called Jason with good news. 5 dogs already have people wanting to adopt them, she said, and we've received enough donations to care for all of them for months. That's great, Jason said. What about the others? Some will need more time, Sarah admitted. The ones that were forced to fight the most are still very afraid. But we'll work with them. Jason thought for a moment. I might take 2, he said. The ones that need the most help. Are you sure? They could be dangerous, Sarah warned. Duke could use some friends, Jason said. And I have plenty of space for them to heal. Sarah agreed to let him meet the most troubled dogs next week. For now, they needed time to get used to being safe. Later that day, Jason went to the store to buy dog food. As he loaded bags into his car, he noticed a motorcycle in the parking lot. It had the Devil's Wheels symbol on it. Jason looked around but didn't see any bikers. He drove home taking a different route than usual, watching to make sure he wasn't followed. At home, his phone rang. It was Frank, his friend who had helped him get information on the Devil's Wheels. Jason, you need to be careful, Frank said without saying hello. Word on the street is that Razor is looking for you. He thinks you're the one who took his dogs and ruined his fighting business. Does he have proof? Jason asked. He doesn't need proof, Frank said. He's angry and wants someone to blame. My sources say he's offering money to anyone who can tell them where you live. Jason thanked Frank for the warning. He was not surprised that Razor was looking for him, but he was a little worried. Not for himself, but for Duke and the shelter. If Razor found out about the shelter, he might try to take back the dogs or hurt them more. Jason decided he needed to set up better security at his house. He called a company that installed cameras and alarm systems. They could come tomorrow. That would help keep Duke safe. Then he called Sarah at the shelter. You might want to get some extra security, he told her. The people who had those dogs before might be looking for them. Sarah sounded worried. We can't afford a security system, she said. I'll pay for it, Jason said. The same company doing my house can do the shelter too. After making these plans, Jason sat down to think. Having better security was good, but it was not enough. Razor and his gang needed to be stopped for good. Otherwise, they might start another dog-fighting ring or hurt other animals. Jason needed more evidence against them, something that the police could not ignore. Even with someone inside the police helping them, the Devil's Wheels would not be able to avoid serious charges if there was strong enough proof. He had an idea. It was risky, but it might work. Jason picked up his phone and made another call to Frank. He would need help for what he was planning next. Frank met Jason at a quiet diner the next morning. They sat in a corner booth far from other people. Jason explained his plan. I need to find out who in the police department is helping the Devil's Wheels, Jason said. If we can prove that, the whole gang will go down. Frank nodded slowly. That's dangerous, Jason. You're talking about corrupt cops. I know, Jason said. But I need to make sure those dogs stay safe, and I need to make sure the Devil's Wheels can't hurt any more animals. Frank thought for a moment. I have a friend who works at the phone company. He might be able to help us track calls between Razor and whoever is helping him in the police. This was exactly what Jason needed. Can you ask him? I'll try, Frank said. But what will you do with that information? You can't just go to the police with it if one of them is dirty. I know someone we can trust, Jason said. Officer Mike Brown. He's been trying to catch the Devil's Wheels for a long time. Over the next 3 days, Frank and his friend worked on tracking Razor's calls. Jason kept busy making his house more secure. The security company installed cameras and alarms. They did the same at the animal shelter. Sarah was very thankful. I feel much safer now, she told Jason when he visited. And the dogs are doing really well. Look at this one. She showed him a big black dog that had been one of the worst cases. The dog had many scars but was now wagging its tail as Sarah petted it. Would you like to meet our 2 hardest cases? She asked. The ones you said you might take. Sarah led Jason to a quiet room at the back of the shelter. Inside were 2 dogs. One was a tan pit bull mix with a torn ear. The other was a large brown dog with no clear breed. Both looked at Jason with careful eyes. This is Rex, Sarah said, pointing to the pit bull. And that's Buddy. They were both used as fighting dogs for a long time. They don't trust people much. Jason sat on the floor and waited. He didn't try to touch the dogs or even talk to them at first. He just let them see that he wasn't going to hurt them. After a few minutes, Buddy came a little closer. He sniffed in Jason's direction, but stayed out of reach. Rex stayed in the corner, watching. They need time, Sarah said, but they're getting better every day. Jason nodded. I'll come back and visit them again. I think they'll make good friends for Duke when they're ready. As Jason left the shelter, his phone rang. It was Frank. We found something, Frank said. Razor makes a call to the same number every Saturday before the dog fights. The number belongs to a police captain named Bill Turner. Turner, Jason repeated. Now they had a name. We need proof that he's helping them avoid getting caught. My friend at the phone company says there's a way, Frank said. Turner's phone might be tapped already as part of another case. If so, we might be able to get recordings of his calls with Razor. This was better than Jason had hoped. Can you find out? I'm working on it, Frank said. But there's something else. Razor is still looking for you. He's offering even more money now. Someone's going to tell him where you live eventually. Jason wasn't worried about himself, but he was concerned about Duke and the shelter. Tell me if you hear anything else, he said. That night, Jason checked all his new security cameras before going to bed. Duke slept next to his bed as always. The big dog was almost fully healed now. His limp was gone, and he was back to his happy self. As Jason was falling asleep, his phone buzzed with a text from Frank. Meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. Same place. I have the recordings. Jason smiled in the dark. Soon, they would have the evidence they needed. Captain Turner and the Devil's Wheels would not be able to hurt any more dogs. But first, he needed to be very careful. The next steps would be the most dangerous. Jason met Frank at the diner the next morning. Frank had a small flash drive in his hand. Here are the recordings, Frank said, sliding the drive across the table. Turner has been warning Razor about police raids for months. He also takes money to look the other way when the Devil's Wheels break the law. Jason took the drive. This is exactly what we need. I'll take it to Officer Mike right away. As Jason stood to leave, Frank grabbed his arm. Be careful. My sources say Razor found out where you live. He might be planning something. Jason hurried home to check on Duke. The big dog was fine, sleeping in the sun in the backyard. Jason called the shelter to warn Sarah to be extra careful. Then he called Officer Mike and asked to meet him at a coffee shop away from the police station. Mike arrived looking worried. What's this about, Jason? Jason gave him the flash drive. This has recordings of Captain Turner talking to Razor. Turner has been helping the Devil's Wheels avoid getting caught. Mike's face went pale. This is serious, Jason. I need to take this to the FBI. They've been looking into police corruption in our department. This could be the proof they need. Do it, Jason said. But be careful. I don't want Turner to know we have this evidence. Mike promised to be discreet. As they were about to leave, Jason's phone rang. It was Sarah from the shelter, and she was crying. Jason, someone broke in last night, she sobbed. They took Rex and Buddy, the 2 dogs you were going to adopt. Jason felt his blood run cold. Was anyone hurt? What about the other dogs? The other dogs are fine. I wasn't here when it happened, Sarah said. The security cameras caught everything. It was bikers, Jason. They knew exactly which dogs to take. Jason knew what had happened. Razor had found out that the shelter had his fighting dogs. He had taken back the 2 most valuable ones. Jason told Sarah to send the security footage to Officer Mike. Then he rushed home. When Jason got to his house, he knew something was wrong. The front door was open. He ran inside calling for Duke. There was no answer. Duke was gone. On the kitchen table was a note. We have your dogs. Come to the old warehouse tonight if you want them back. Come alone or they die. Razor. Jason felt a mix of fear and anger like never before. They had Duke and the 2 shelter dogs. This was a trap, of course. Razor wanted revenge for Jason taking his fighting dogs. But Jason had no choice. He had to go. He called Frank and told him what happened. Frank wanted to help, but Jason knew Razor would be watching for that. No, I need to go alone, Jason said. But call Mike. Tell him what's happening. Tell him to be ready with the FBI, but to stay back until I give a signal. I don't want the dogs hurt. That night, Jason drove to the old warehouse. He was dressed simply, not in black like before. He wasn't here to hide. He was here to face Razor. The main door of the warehouse was open. Inside, the large room was lit with a few lamps. In the middle stood Razor, surrounded by 5 of his gang members. In cages behind them were Duke, Rex, and Buddy. Duke barked when he saw Jason. So it was you, Razor said with an ugly smile. I knew it. No one else would care so much about some stupid dogs. Let them go, Jason said. Your fight is with me. Razor laughed. Oh, we'll fight all right. But first, I want you to see something. He turned to one of his men. Bring them out. 2 more gang members came from the back room. They had Officer Mike with them. His face was bruised and his hands were tied. Seems like your police friend was working with the FBI, Razor said. Turner found out and told us. Now we have to leave town. But first, we're going to make you both pay. Jason looked at the scared dogs in their cages, at his friend Mike, and at the 7 angry bikers around him. This was worse than he thought. But he had faced worse odds in real life, not just in movies. And he had something Razor didn't know about, a small button in his pocket that would signal Frank to send in the FBI. Jason pressed the button and stepped forward. It was time to end this, once and for all.